The Time Papa Got Lost, Part C. "We'll take a shortcut out," Papa announced after we'd eaten breakfast and were breaking camp. Tom stopped folding our tent and looked at Papa. "How can we take a shortcut when we've never been here before?" he asked. "I've always prided myself on my sense of direction," Papa said. "We will follow this valley. It will bring us out of the mountains, just a few miles from above Aidenville." We finished packing and loading the buckboard and were ready to go when Tom put his hands on the front wheel. "I'm going to walk behind Papa," he said. Papa looked surprised. "Why walk?" he asked. "The bottom of the valley is quite level and nothing but sagebrush and a few trees." "I just feel like walking," Tom said. Just before we stopped to camp for the night, the stream turned to a canyon on the left, and there was another canyon to the right. Papa said we'd take the canyon to the right the next morning. "But Dad," Swin protested, "what will we do for water?" "There are plenty of springs in these mountains," Papa said. "We must take the canyon to the right because Aidenville lies in that direction." "Well, all I can say is that Papa was right about one thing. There were springs in those mountains with enough water for us and the horses, but it sure wasn't the way to Aidenville." The canyon to the right came to a fork of two more canyons. We took the one to the right and ended up in a blind canyon. We came back and took the other canyon and again ended up in a fork and again took the canyon to the right. We came back and took the other canyon. Finally, we came to another canyon that had a stream of water running down it. It was a good thing we camped on high ground that night because we had the worst cloudburst I've ever seen or heard. The rain came down as if poured from giant buckets in the sky. The river was a raging torrent of water. When we came out of the tent in the morning, although the rain had stopped. "There's nothing like roughing it," Papa said cheerfully, as he made sourdough biscuits with the last of our flour. "I could spend all summer in these mountains, but we'd better start for home. Your mother will be worried. We are all a couple days overdue now." Boy, did that make me feel better. I was sure that we were lost in the mountains, and all the time Papa had only been pretending to be lost to give us boys an exciting adventure. Swin must have been thinking the same thing. "You mean we aren't lost?" he asked. "How can a person be lost in a mountain when there is running water?" Papa asked as he pointed at the rain-swelled river. Water runs downhill. All we have to do is follow this river downstream, and will lead us out of these mountains." "Then why didn't we follow the other stream?" Swin asked. "That would have taken us out on the other side of the mountain from Aidenville," Papa answered. We followed the river downstream until we came to a waterfall. Papa said we would bypass the waterfall the same way we had bypassed the cliff, by going down on one side of the canyon around the waterfall with Swin and Dusty holding the buckboard from tipping over. Tom and I were walking behind Papa. Papa was sitting on the seat of the buckboard. I had my head down to see where I was stepping when I heard Swin scream. I looked up, and it felt as if my chest had caved in. The strain on the lariat had become too much, and it had broken. I was stunned with horror. Papa leaped from the seat of the buckboard just a second before it turned over and went tumbling down the side of the canyon, pulling the team with it. I ran crying to Papa and threw my arms around his waist. He patted my head. "Next time we'll take pack horses," he said calmly, as if he lost a buckboard every day of the week. The buckboard was a total wreck, with two wheels smashed so badly they couldn't possibly be fixed. Bess was standing up and shaking with fright, but Dick kept trying to stand up, only to fall down, and was screaming something awful. We made our way down the steep slope of the canyon to where the horses were. Papa unhitched Bess and had Swin tie one end of his broken lariat around her neck and take her to one side of Dusty. Then Papa knelt down and examined poor old Dick. His face was grave as he stood up. "His right foreleg is broken," he said. "I'll have to shoot him." Swin got his .22 rifle from the holster attached to his saddle and handed it to Papa. I watched Papa put the end of the barrel in Dick's ears and then turned my head away. I heard the sound of the shot. I turned around. Dick still seemed to be moving. Papa shot him again in the head. Then the horse lay still. Our tent was ripped in half, and our supplies were scattered all over the side of the canyon. We salvaged what we could and made a pack horse out of Bess. Papa mounted Dusty and led the pack horse. Swin and I followed close behind on foot, and Tom lagged behind again. We followed the stream downhill until afternoon of the following day. Then Papa pulled Dusty to a halt. "Don't worry, boys," he shouted over his shoulder. "When we're round that bend up ahead, you'll be able to see the mouth of the canyon." I felt cheered up enough to start whistling. My whistling stopped suddenly as we rounded the bend in the canyon. Instead of the mouth of the canyon, I saw a 1,000-foot-high wall of granite forming another blind canyon. The river ran downhill all right, just as Papa said it would, but this river went right under that 1,000-foot wall of granite, forming an underground river.